Today's video, we're going to talk about Facebook ad lead generation in 2025. And from a multi-million-dollar ad agency owner who manages dozens of Facebook lead generation accounts, I'm going to tell you all the tricks in the book on how to actually run Facebook lead generation ads, Facebook lead ads, running ads to your website to generate form fills, phone calls. I'm going to talk about all of it, specifically the stuff that works today. Currently, today, when you watch this video, that didn't necessarily work last year or last month even. Okay, so given that the trends in terms of what actually works on Facebook to generate leads at an affordable cost where you have a good ROI is always changing. And so you have to stay on top of this stuff. For that matter, if you stay to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how profitable this is, because it is massively, massively profitable if you just do things the way that it's currently working and that you can do for yourself. So I'm going to go over specifically what these four main styles of ads that are working, and then also with that, what do you have to do to support the ad to actually get the ROI? Because that's the thing that people don't know about either. And I'm going to talk about that as well. So with that said, I'm going to get into the content. So there are four main formulas that work on Facebook in today's environment in order to get a respectable ROI where your costs are covered, the product or service cost is covered, the cost of ad spend is covered, and you got actual profit left over at the end of the day, okay? So these four things are, number one, small mic talking head. So this is a video where I'm sure you've seen this before, where you have somebody on social media with a small mic, a smaller one, and they're talking on it on camera. What this basically does, it's actually a hybrid of two different things. It's a hybrid of somebody who looks like an influencer, because a non-influencer doesn't actually use a microphone. They just speak into their camera. But also it looks like an everyday average Joe as well, because they're not using a professional microphone. So it's kind of like a psychological hack, if you will. Having an influencer will always make an ad campaign work better if that influencer is known, liked, and respected in a certain field, and the person viewing the ad knows them. That is the case. But the second best thing is actually somebody who thinks that who is talking to them on the video ad is an influencer. They don't know who the influencer is, but they know it's an influencer, which the beauty behind this is that you don't have to actually pay an influencer, which generally speaking, I would recommend that as well to test that, but it will typically work better to not even have the influencer, that unless the person is known in your market. Like if you sell teddy bears, you get a teddy bear influencer, that's going to do better than the small mic talking head video. But in general, if it's an influencer that it's not well known, it's not Joe Rogan, then this particular type of video where it looks like an influencer, but not a huge one, actually is in the perfect sweet spot, given that a lot of people know that influencers are paid to actually review products and services now. So it actually takes advertising on Facebook. Like I said, the trends are always changing. So whereas influencers didn't do better before, now it's actually going the other way where individual consumers reviewing stuff, it actually does better. But specifically, what it seems like is somebody with a little bit of authority, but not so much that clearly they're just a paid shill, is what I would tell you there. So interestingly enough, that works really well. And I noticed, in the main thing that we do at our agency, where we manage all these accounts to know that this type of stuff works, is we keep a pulse on all the ads that are running out there, what's trending, and then we test it ourselves. And this one is one that works extremely well and gets a great ROI for what it costs to put together, which is almost nothing. You can also show results or show your end result. So this is something that kind of basically always did work well. This is where if you have a cleaning service, you can show how well you're cleaning the house. This can be something where if you show, you do Invisalign, which, is teeth straightening services via like a retainer. If you show somebody before and after and how much better their smile looks, that would be your so-called show your results ad. And the key with this is people don't really care the process. Yes, they do care, but respectively, that's not what sells them. In fact, in a lot of cases, you don't want them to know the process. You don't want to have to see, you have to go back 20,000 times to the dentist's office. You just want the damn end result. So you show the end result specifically, what you specifically get. Now, this doesn't work for everything. This has to be something where the end result is visual. But if it's visual, that's usually your best bet to go with. You could also do showing content from a TV placement. Now, this is something that a lot of people are going to say, whoa, I can't afford that, or you just have a visceral reaction to it. But hear me out here. So what you do is you reach out to, you find out how to talk to the media sales rep at a larger TV station or show, or if you don't have quite the budget, it could even be a local TV show in your local market. So if you're in Omaha, Nebraska, you get the Omaha local, TV station you ask for opportunities to advertise. You're not mentioning anything about the specifics here. You're just, hey, I want to talk to somebody. I want to buy ads on your station. Okay. With that said, once you get into conversation, then you start talking about, hey, I want an actual paid inclusion in your XYZ program, or if that won't work, other programs. You literally, in this day and age, if you wanted to get on Oprah and have Oprah mention during the actual show a particular product, you could do this. It's going to cost a shitload of money to do it, but the old legacy media TV is actually hurting for money. The revenues have been declining for a long time. They're hanging on still, but they're to the point now where they're open to any kind of advertising opportunity, even a custom one that you bring up if they're not traditionally doing it. But these TV stations, as is the magazines, as is the radio stations, they've 10 years now have caught on to what people want to pay for, which is payola, for lack of better words. Payola is an old radio term where you would actually pay, and instead of having your, an ad on the commercial breaks, you would actually pay to get a song playing during the main radio play to get exposure for a certain artist. That's what this basically is. You're paying to get as a part of the organic content on the television station. And generally speaking, what you'll typically do is want to get on stuff that's niche to your market. So if you sell a really fancy blender, okay, you want to get on the Food Network, and on the TV show where they're doing, they're talking about how to make really cool blended drinks, and your product is the product that they recommend, if you will. If you can't get that done, or there's no niche TV shows that fit your niche, that is, if you sell fishing rods and there's no fishing channels to get on, then you just get on Fox News, and they talk about new, products that are fancy or just new products, and you can get on that section of the show because they typically always have one. Why? Because they're trying to monetize their viewers at a higher level than just having commercial breaks and having ads there, because they're hurting for revenue. We've actually done this on specifically the Fox and Friends channel, as well as quite a few other channels. Anybody can do this. And the price of that on a Fox and Friends feature, like a 60-second feature on the mainstream news that's going nationwide, is only 10 grand, which if you got you're spending a few grand a month on Facebook ads already. You're crazy not considering this, because it's going to increase the amount of traffic you're going to get and leads you're going to get tremendously. We're talking about it will literally cut your cost per click by a third to a fifth of what you started out with, because people take stuff that they see it on TV seriously still to this day. That's why these legacy media outlets are hanging on. They've got the ability to sell this so-called influence. But you'll do better on a niche TV show, because naturally it's, when they say you're the best fishing rod when you're on a fishing show, that holds more weight, so to say. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about here. So essentially, you pay to get on TV, you take the feature on TV, that's your ad. And then you run that ad as is. So it sounds expensive, but it's taken care of everything that you need to do in terms of scripting, recording. A good piece of video content could easily cost you several grand anyway. And for $5 grand, you can get on local TV, and that can be your ad, and it will work a hell of a lot better than what you could say about yourself, which it will. it's a good deal. So not to say that should be your first thing to do, but if you're not making money now and you're in a market where trust is the biggest thing that you have to, do in your market to make a sale, such as if you're selling new hair product, you're selling, let's say, hair restoration products where they buy what they trust. This is a really great way to go about doing it because it's purchased trust. Because if you just show a hair product itself on Facebook ads, and I know because we've sold and marketed plenty, people are going to see it, even though it looks good, they're not going to believe it outright very often. They just aren't. But if it's on TV, it's a whole different story. I mean, we're talking 10 times the effect in that particular market, being able to have it on TV, than just showing an example of a customer that uses it and that's it. It's going to be a whole different ball game for you in terms of the ROI you're going to get on your ad spend once you do it. And for a national company that you're selling nationwide, that's good. I mean, of course, if you're in a local market, that's not that useful because you can't get that much mileage out of the ad. And when you're spending several grand just to make the ad, sometimes it won't pay out. But for a national market, it's a drop in the bucket because you can use it and use it and use it. And the click-through rate's so high, it drops your cost per click literally down to 10 cents, 20 cents is what we've had, which is why you use it. Reaction content. Specifically with this, you're actually showing somebody getting the product for the first time and what their reaction is. A spin on this is the unboxing videos that you see, such as like on YouTube and so forth. This is like, hey, I got the package in the mail, and after it's already been out of the box, the users or individual's reaction to that product or service, if it's a service. If you're a cleaner, you're doing house cleaning again, going back to that, it's showing the person, oh my gosh, the house looks amazing. Content like that. Why? Because as you will probably notice, or if you haven't noticed, the most common thumbnail you see on YouTube, as far as thumbnails go, the image on the video that compels you to click on the video, it's always or something like that, because people are psychologically trained to pay attention to people doing this because, in the history, I mean, when somebody was doing this, there's probably something weird going on and there's danger around. So respectively, seeing somebody doing this, it's a perfect hook to get someone's attention. So therefore, that's why it works. And if you can replicate this on your own, you do it. Which naturally, all you got to do is do the customer's job, or do it for free for somebody, which is even better. You get a better reaction, and then just have a professional videographer waiting there. When you reveal the end result for the customer, and you capture that, and that's your ad. Okay, so all four of these actually do really well in today's environment. What will work better for your market depends on your market, of course. You should certainly be considering testing more than one, because in a lot of cases, just totally blow out of the water everything else. So even though you might make money with one on the first try, I would recommend doing the other ones. Not to mention, there's only so many people in your market that are apt to buy your product or service. If you're selling that lipstick, there's only so many people who want your hyperallergenic lipstick. And when you only have one ad copy, no matter how good it works, it's not going to have legs forever. You're always going to make more money going deeper on the same audience than trying to go wider. That's generally speaking. So you do all of them. Once you find your audience that works with one, the other ones will probably work as well, because these all work in today's environment. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the case studies where I talk about different companies, different situations, where we used each one of these specifically, and how much results we got when using them as well, so you can understand how this will work for yourself. With that said, starting with car detailing. So we had just a basic local car detailing shop. We used specifically the show end result formula here, or ad type. And all that we literally did was show the car being cleaned. By the way, if you want to know what type of ad content that's going to work on Facebook, you need to go on to YouTube and just see the type of organic content that does well, that's trending, or gets a lot of views. because that's the same type of content that's going to do great on your video ad on Facebook, generally speaking. In terms of car detailing, what's the top most viewed videos? It's showing somebody, it's people's, taking a sped up version of the car cleaning, showing it going from crap to cleaned, if you will. And so we made our own video like that, and that is the ad itself. And the reason why that hooks the user, obviously, is because it's like AMSR type content where it's like, it just hooks you in seeing it, if you will. And that's what you have going for you there. So naturally with Facebook nowadays, just to let you know, things have changed. Lookalikes audiences and doing that and Advantage Plus audiences, that works great if you've got a lot of traffic coming to your website already. Generally speaking though, if you don't and you're starting kind of from scratch, you want to use open targeting with general demographic targeting, in other words, where you're just targeting like, basically everybody in an age and gender demographic, and that's it. At that point in time, you make your ad have in the headline and in the description, a description of what you're selling. With that said, in this case, we're just going to put auto detailing service Dallas. And then that's what the ad has. And what that does is it gets Facebook to understand what it is that you're trying to do. And they're going to find all the people that are interested in car detailing already because they clicked on other car detailing pages before or interacted with their content before. They, have people that are in that market have their sites pixeled, and you get in front of all the people that have been to their websites. So you're clear about what you're trying to sell in your ads. The algorithm understands who to match you up with. Then at that point in time, is what you're showing the user compelling enough to get them to stop scrolling and at least watch what you have? And then of course the ad, if it's compelling, then you can get a lead, so to say. But the most compelling type of video we could have was that AMSR type content showing the car being cleaned in a sped up manner, which at the same time, the best ads entertain while educating. So it entertained first and foremost, but it also educated the user as to how thorough we are with our cleaning. You're not going to get your typical detailing where we're really going to go deep in terms of the level of what we're doing with it. You get educated on that while watching that AMSR content. So, the person's already now watched 30, 40 seconds. They're impressed. They see the ad again. It says, oh, this is in Dallas, actually. It's not just some video from some other guy, some other place. Why not I just fill out this form? You do Facebook lead ads. Those are the most productive way to run ads in that market, as well as most markets nowadays, because it doesn't require them to go to a website, and people don't trust other websites as much as they do Facebook. You generate the lead. You integrate your CRM with your Facebook lead ad campaign, which will optimize for better quality leads over time, and you're going to get great results. That's the magic formula that we use more than anything else in 2025 that you should use for yourself. In addition to that, you've got to be able to have a call center set up to handle your leads. It's to the point where if a client does not tell me that they have a dedicated person ready to answer the phone 24 hours a day, or immediately as soon as the lead comes in, I just tell them the campaign ain't going to work if we're running Facebook ads, and we should do something else. We should do Google ads or whatever. Why? Because if you call them back even in an hour after they fill out the form, they're not going to answer / they don't even know what the hell you are talking about when you call them. You got to call literally within 60 seconds of that lead coming in. So they know when that call comes in, what it's likely about, and to answer the damn phone. Otherwise, people get calls from numbers they don't recognize. They're just not going to answer the phone anymore. It's been that way for a while, but it's gotten extreme to the point where it just won't make money unless you're calling right away. So the best bet is to have an actual call center set up. You could call a call center to have the lead be answered, or use an AI service. There's services out there that can answer the phone if it's a simple selling process. But for the most part, you use a call center, or you have somebody that can, the best is an employee that will answer the phone because it can follow a certain script to capture the lead. But they fill out the form, they call, of course, you get booked in terms of a time. They go through the basic process, but you got to add that in as a component of what you're doing. It's going to be hard as hell, at the very least, to make money. Okay? So that's number one. And by the way, with that, the results were great. I rounded the results up to the nearest 5% on all of these. but we had an 855% ROAS on this campaign with the campaign setup that I just mentioned to you. That's a really good example of show the results, show the end result, ideally in a sped up way, if it's more technical or detailed, to get the user's attention. You're entertaining them first. And while they're being entertained, they also are educated on what this is. And then the headline sells them or it doesn't sell them. It got them stopped and paid attention at a very high rate. And then it was just a matter of, do they want it or not? And you got to get their attention before you can actually sell them anything. Database management software. Okay, so this is software that, if you don't know what a database is, it's basically the kind of the back end of a website, so that if you have a bunch of customer names and so forth, or, content on that website is stored on a database, if you will, the content of the website. And the software itself, the actual database, so that it's more efficient, so that the website calls can happen faster. Therefore, the website will go faster if the database itself is managed right. And it does it by consolidating things, make it so that the hard drive, it takes less time to find certain things on the database. It does quite a few other things to make the time it takes for a website action to happen when calling that database, so to say. For that matter, this software, what we did here, we did it, first of all, a small mic video where we're saying, basically, I just used this database management software and our website goes so much faster now. I had no idea that our website was being held up so much by how our database being unoptimized, blah, 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 blah. That's the general premise of the video itself. But with that said, what we did was we got in front of people. For B2B Facebook, it's actually hard to get results because there's a small market or part of the, country, if you will, that is a buyer or could buy. And it's, in this case, it's people who are CTOs or an executive in the marketing department at companies that are actually going to, to where we can communicate with them and they're actually going to do something and can influence the decision maker at these companies. But so we went ahead and we got all the names of all the decision makers, or in essence, people we can influence at the companies that would need this database management software. And then we went through a third party to actually get their personal email address, because given that if you upload a business email address to Facebook, you're not going to get a very high what they call match rate, where, essentially with Facebook, you upload an email list there. You can say target just these people that have these emails. They match those emails with people in their system, and then they say, aha, I know who you want to market to. But if it's a business user, you got to get their personal email. Well, there's third-party services where you can take business emails and a person's name and then reverse those into a personal email address. You get that, you can put it on Facebook, and those work great for B2B campaigns. So now our ads are really well targeted and there's very little waste there, because anybody that we're communicating with has a website that they're responsible for, that they want to go faster, if you will, and or a database that they are responsible for managing and making sure works right so that their website works right. With that said, that was how it was set up. That's the ad. In this particular case, though, we didn't do Facebook lead ads. We sent people to a dedicated landing page on the site to get a demo of this software, and where you go, it goes through and it shows you how much you're going to be able to optimize using the software and so forth. But campaign worked extremely well. So there's two parts with Facebook lead generation process that you have to get right. It's the ad copy. It's got to be interesting and entertaining. And you also got to get the targeting right. If you don't get both of them right, you're not going to get an ROI on your campaign naturally, if you will. So in that case, though, it did very, very well, mainly because the targeting was so good. We were literally able to get the exact couple thousand people that we wanted to target with this campaign. And then we just exclusively marketed to them itself. And, we had other approaches, but the main ad that worked the best was the small like campaign. So that's a really good example of where you can bust out the small like ad copy style and do really, really well with it. So it can also, and I picked this one because it worked in the B2B space. So it doesn't have to be just B2C. This works great. I mean, frankly, it makes sense, right? Because if you are a chief technology officer at a company and you're responsible for making sure your database systems are working correctly, you're going to only take advice from another authority in the space. Otherwise, why do you give a damn what somebody else says? And so in this case, we're appearing as that exact person, and a person with a little bit of authority in the database space that they would that we consider paying attention to and listening to. Given that they have a little mic, okay, this person must have some authority. They have the mic itself, must not be just your average Joe. I'm at least listening. And then all we need is to get them listening, because once we've got that, our message can take care of the rest. You got to stop the scroll. You got to get them to actually just start listening. And once you got that far, you're gold. Because most of what you pay for on Facebook, you're paying per impression or per time the ad shows up. And every person who ignores your ad costs you money. So the biggest challenge is, how do you get 50% of the people to pay attention to your post or more, versus they see it's an ad most of the time and 5% of them will pay attention to it. Because that's the difference between, of course, it costing 50 cents a click to your website or $5 a click to your website, literally speaking. So regardless of what you do, you got to be interesting. Now, we had a marriage proposal service. So this is like basically where if you are going to propose to your wife and you want the event to be special, there's services literally out there that will put out like rose petals. They'll set up a plane that can go over with a, message, marry me, please marry me, stuff like that. They arrange it for you. It's like in packages. And so with this particular service, it's great for Facebook ads, by the way, because it's something that, granted on Google, we also ran ads and people are outright looking for this, but a lot more potential on Facebook interrupting people, specifically that we know are interested in engagement rings or shopping for one, because that's the one event that leads up to this purchase that we can identify to narrow down our targeting enough to have a good return on our investment, which is what we were able to do. There's software out there where you can actually make your own audiences. So Facebook, you can use open targeting. If you're in a big enough market, that's already good enough. If the general public, 1% or greater of the general public can buy your product or service, just use open targeting for your lead generation campaign. But if you're in a market where there's 0.001% of the market who buys, marketing it to everybody with open targeting usually isn't going to be good enough. It's just too niche of a market. Also, the niche is so small, Facebook, when it reads your ad to see where your ad should show up, there's not enough competitors out there for them to understand who to get your ad in front of and know that market, so to say. So in that situation, you can use LiveRamp, which is a third-party audience software service, where you can go in there and you can find people who have bought something, and you can take that and then import that audience of people that have bought a certain good into your Facebook account. Now you can target people that have bought a certain thing, and you can use this all the time, to the point where outside of open targeting, it's our second most profitable thing that we've ever done. With that said, we can find every single person who is interested and have bought a engagement ring to target with these ads, because they bought it. Now this is the perfect time to get in front of them, because obviously it's all about timing. If they're already engaged, which Facebook lets you target people that are engaged already, it's too late. If they haven't already decided that they're going to go ahead and spend actual money on their engagement ring or bought one yet, it's too early. You have only that small window of time. So we're talking about, and then in a population of 400 million people in the US, there's only 10,000 or less that are considering getting engaged, a man engaging to a woman at an even time. So it is the 0.001%. So in this case, that targeting was necessary to make a great return. Not to say you couldn't get some return with open targeting, but in this case, it wasn't near good enough. And given that you're going to be paying, the way that it works with LiveRamp, by the way, is you're paying money to just access that data list. They charge you per impression. So you're going to be paying about 10% of what you spend on ad spend to LiveRamp to be able to use it. But they have so many audiences there. I mean, they have audiences that you can target. People that, if you're an Italian restaurant, people that have bought Italian food in the past. It narrows down very, very well your user that way, instead of just marketing it to everybody. Anyway, so the actual ad was a reaction content ad. So we just showed, of course, the thing. So this is kind of a mix between the results and the reaction, but really focusing on the reaction of the user. Once the lady, what she thought, what she looked like, what she experienced when she did experience the occasion, what was her reaction? And we did a bunch of these, a bunch of different ladies, got a bunch of different stuff, which also would give you an idea of what's possible. Instead of just showing one, you had a series of them. And also because the audience is so small, we had to do that to get a mileage out of our audience and get enough purchases out of our audience. We've also, by the way, done the reaction content for a bunch of other stuff like home kitchen remodeling, showing the reaction of what the person looked like when they ultimately saw the finished product. So this is going to be used in many different ways. But that is the type of content that we had that for this particular market, and we had a 425% ROAS in that case. Whereas if I didn't mention it, by the way, for the database management, we were over 1,000% ROAS because it's so targeted. In this case, it's lower, mainly because the lifetime value of a customer is just not the same with that. I mean, you spend a few grand for this itself, and a lot of the people that are getting engaged are just not going to do it. It helps certainly if you're going after richer people, but we didn't because the volume would be less. We would have went after just the top 10% of income demographic. The return would be higher, but this was already enough to be profitable. So we were satisfied at this and just did more scale. It's always obviously, you always got to weigh. Do you want more volume with less margin or less volume with higher margin? And there's usually a sweet spot in there. But that's the reaction content. And then finally, we also had the TV placement campaign. I mentioned about that earlier with a guy who sold toolboxes he got on, which are toolboxes for like a garage to put your wrenches and stuff in there. And we got a TV show that, where they talk about building and making cars faster like that. And got on the TV show. It was a new product feature. It doesn't look like an ad on TV. That's the key part that makes it work. It just looks like the guy that hosts this show thought this toolbox company was really cool, wanted to share it with you as the viewer. So, that in itself, by the way, the beauty behind the TV placement, if it's a niche channel like that, you'll get sales directly from the placement on TV. And then if it makes sales, you can pay them to air reruns of that whole entire show. It's possible to do that, or they'll just run reruns of it anyway. And each rerun, we would see the sales surge on Google Analytics. Then on top of that, so that just pays for the cost of the ad. Then on top of that, we can use it for Facebook and make a lot more money. So it earns two overall major ways there. Not to say that if you have your mailbox or your dresses on national television, that's going to pay for the cost of what the feature costs. Most of the time it won't. But the value is actually running and having that for ad creative that will make a campaign a lot more productive than it would be otherwise. That's where most of your value is when you get those features, even though in some markets, particularly when it's on a niche channel, it'll also make a profit in and itself just from the viewing on the television, watching that television show itself. So that said, our toolbox campaign, which essentially was just that product review, 905% ROAS on Facebook. Now this is also after some time of, seasoning that account. You may not get this right away, but that's what kind of return we got. And for that matter, part of what gets the return is we can remarket to them once they saw the ad. I love these TV ads because they get people's attention pretty much more than anything else, because anything that's on national television, people take seriously. They stop. What is this? I've never seen this before. You got them to interact with the ad. Now you can remarket to them. Now they'll take anything else you're saying seriously because they saw your stuff on TV before. So that is why this is so powerful compared to the other ones, even though it's a lot more expensive to do as a whole. I can get them to see my, new watch was on MSNBC. And then once they've seen that, I could talk all day about that watch. And at least for the people that thought the watch was cool, they're going to keep watching and take anything else that I say seriously. given the biggest battle that you have as a new company without a huge brand already is people just trusting you. Will they trust you? Probably not. The TV takes the trust out of the equation when you lead with that up front. That is the final example and case study I wanted to go over here. If you want somebody to set this up for you, this is what I do for clients at our firm. You can find me at guaranteedppc.com. And I can tell you up front what results you're going to get with it and what we can guarantee, such as, ultimately, if we find out we got to get you a 5-to-1 return on your ad spend to be profitable, even after paying our agency, that's what we'll do. And we will not take a management fee up front until we get you those results. This is, as far as I know, we're still the only agency who offers that contingency guarantee for you up front on your campaigns. If we're going to get paid, you're getting paid. Similar to that, though, we have ad templates available. If we're in a market, I went through a bunch of markets we've been in, and if we're in a market that you're in, you're best off just buying the template we have for your market. As long as you're in a different city or country that, our clients in, you can use whatever you have there in your geographic market and get the same results we did. If you're interested in that, also let me know. I've got 100 plus different niche templates available I can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front. So you can inquire on and through my site for that as well. If you have any questions about anything I covered here or any marketing related question for that matter, you can either leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. You can also, I got a great Discord group that I've started on, and if you can find the link of that in the video description where I'm in there answering questions, as is a bunch of other people that follow this channel are answering questions in there. I've got a free PPC course in there that's waiting for you just as a way of saying thank you for joining the group. Similar to that, I do coaching calls. If you want to get on the phone with me and just hash something out, whether you're an agency owner or company, regular company alike, doesn't matter to me. I can let you know, use my 20 years of experience to help you figure out what you need to do next. But, with all that said, out of all the different types of ads doing lead generation itself, we're typically going to do Facebook lead ads and not send people to a landing page unless what we sell and what we have on the landing page, what we're selling, it needs further explanation. Then we'll use a landing page. Otherwise, the Facebook lead ads gets better results. We're using a call center now with real-time response to the leads itself. And we're going to go with one of these 4 formulas here, and ideally all 4. And just to find out how to get the most out of our market that we know where we got product market fit, there's an audience there that can be tapped that's profitable, of which the most profitable one in general is probably this TV one as a whole that we've made the most money from itself, and then the reaction content, and then itself, the results, and then the small mic talking head one. And sometimes that small mic talking head one worked where none of these other ones will work. Interestingly enough, we had a case where this happened with somebody who sold school supplies, supplying not only just students with pencils and all that and stuff, but like desks and so on and so forth to actual schools itself. So anyway, that goes over pretty much what I wanted to go over. Hopefully that made sense to you, that you can apply one of these strategies to your own campaigns, and then you also have the similar success we had running these same type of Facebook ads, lead generation strategies for your company as well. See you later. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.